The most famous wine from the Douro in Portugal is port, Carmela.
Oh, we've had port.
And we like it.
We do.
Yep. But there is another great wine from the same area that we need to introduce you to.
Me?
All of us.
Oh, good.
Now, it's kind of a big deal. It's a big, bold wine, and it's perfect for those of you who are looking for maybe a less expensive alternative to Bordeaux or Napa Cabs.
Oh, nice.
So stay tuned to learn more.
Woo.
Hello, and welcome to the Wine Pair Podcast. I'm Joe, your sommelier of reasonably priced wine, and this is my wife and my wine pairing partner in crime, Carmela.
Hi there.
And we are the Wine Pair.
Wow.
I had to redo that whole thing because I just went
you were
blah,
like
blah.
sweet talking.
That's right.
The first one.
I was. Now, if you are new to our podcast, here's what you can expect. If you love wine and you want to find great wines at affordable prices, and you want to expand your wine horizons, and you want to have some laughs and fun while doing it, then you're in the right place.
Yes.
Each week, we explore a different wine varietal, style, brand, or region of the winemaking world, and we learn about what makes them worth knowing about.
Okay.
And then what we do is we taste 2 to 3 of those wines that are reasonably priced to let you know if they're worth your hard-earned money.
True.
So if that feels like your thing, you're in the right place.
And we're down with it.
We're down with you.
Wow.
And we're proud to say that Decanter Magazine calls us fun, irreverent,
Chatty.
and entertaining.
Yay.
So, Carmela, it's been about 5 months since we did our last Portuguese wine primer, and it's primer, not primer.
Oh, boy.
And faithful listener Tips to Live By on Blue Sky sent us a note about a month ago asking us if we have done episodes on Portuguese wine.
Wait,
And
really?
And so we thought it's about time to bring back another Portuguese wine primer.
Nice.
So this is our third. The first one was on the great white wine Vinho Verde, which we like a lot. The second was on the great dessert wine Porto. And this episode, we are going to focus on one of the great dry red wines of Portugal, known as Douro Tinto.
Nice job.
Well, I don't know if I'm totally saying it right, but it's Douro, but it's Douro. That's how you say it, Douro Tinto.
Did you listen to
I
somebody?
did. Julian the Wine Guy. I did on YouTube. Now, overall, I will say that relative to Italy, France, and Spain, Portugal just doesn't get as much press or attention to their wine, and they should.
Okay. Well, we're going to find this out.
We are. Now, we mentioned this in a previous episode, but Portugal, compared to its size, produces a ton of wine. Portugal is the 93rd most populous country in the world, so it's not super high in population, but it's about the 10th largest producer of wine in the world.
They care about their wine.
They care about their wine.
Right. So we got to, take a look, like a closer look at somebody who cares that much.
That's right. You don't sleep on the Portuguese.
No. And I bet it's probably reasonably priced.
That was a great segue, Carmela.
Okay.
Great segue, because we're going to talk a little bit about how it's reasonably priced. And by the way, Portugal exports about half of the wine they produce each year, although I do wonder if that will be impacted by tariffs. But whatever.
We'll just see what happens.
So, but before we get to the wine, let's talk a little bit about the Douro Valley, where the wine we are tasting and reviewing today comes from. Before we go into Douro Tinto, what do you say, Carmela?
Perfect.
Okay. I should also note that, again, the Douro is most famous for port wine. The Douro Valley is one of those places in Europe where the geography and history, they're just intertwined with the wine and winemaking. It's in the northern area of Portugal. It's bordering Spain to its east and just to the east of the Vinho Verde wine growing region of Portugal. So it's up north in Portugal.
Okay.
Now, I've never been there, but evidently the terrain in Douro is quite stunning. It's really mountainous with really steep slopes and deep valleys, and the vineyards are like carved into the slopes.
Wow.
And they are often described as like narrow, rocky terraces. So really kind of cool, steep terraces.
And it must get cold up there.
It gets cold up there.
And hot.
And hot up there, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
But it really means that making wine in the Douro is not for the faint of heart because it's really challenging and rugged. It's also very unique and treasured, and in fact, the terrace landscape is a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Oh, wow.
So that's not very common.
No.
Now, the soil is also very unique, and it's made of granite and schist soils.
Oh, what in the world is that?
So I knew you'd ask that, so I looked it up because I didn't actually know
Were
what
you not
schist
going
was.
to? And then you thought, oh, she's going to ask that, and I should know.
Exactly. That's what I thought. So schist soil is a type of soil made up of small pieces of rock called schist.
Okay.
And schist is a type of metamorphic rock, and it tends to be well-draining soil, poor in nutrients, which can be challenging for most plants, but it's great for wine because they like...
to be stressed out.
That's right. They like...
I mean, are you kind of a grape?
I kind of am.
I think
they like
maybe-
water stress. I don't really like water stress.
No, you don't do well with water
I don't really like stress. I just, it's kind of a hobby of mine. Okay.
It kind of is a hobby.
It is. Now the
Without
climate,
stress, you get stressed.
I do, it's stressful for me not to be stressed
You're wondering
out.
what's wrong with you. Like,
I'm stressed
why
when
am
I
not
am stressed. I'm
Yeah.
stressed when I'm not stressed.
So kind of like a grape.
I am a little bit like a wine grape, a good wine grape. Now back to what you were asking about, the climate. The climate in Douro Valley is interesting because it's sheltered by mountain ranges. So although Portugal is this thin strip of land near the ocean, the Douro has more of a continental climate. So hot, dry summers and cold winters.
Makes sense to me.
Yep. And the heat in the summer can be intense, reaching in Fahrenheit terms 100 degrees or more.
Wow.
And there's also really significant variations in elevation in the different vineyards. And so even within the vineyards, grapes in the same vineyard can ripen at different times. And sometimes that means that they have to do multiple harvests in the same, season.
So does it mean that some are stressed at different times?
Exactly. Some find their stress ripening a little
Right.
bit earlier and some a little bit later.
I can see that. We
Like
can
people.
relate.
Like people.
Right.
And the Douro, Carvalhas, you would imagine, is also a very old winemaking region. It's considered one of the oldest in the world, with roots dating back to at least 2,000 years and
Roots.
probably more. Roots. I mean, no pun intended. The Romans are said to, I'm glad you caught that. I don't forget it. Okay, the Romans are said to have brought winemaking to the area, and like in many places in Europe, religious orders like Cistercian monks made a lot of the wine starting around the mid-12th century.
Wow.
So here's the deal. If you want to find good drink,
Find a monk.
find the monks.
Wow. Look for the monk.
The Catholic monks.
Right.
I'm not so sure that the other kinds of monks are as into alcohol.
Because
as
those Catholic monks might be stressed out too.
I'd be stressed out. Okay, so this is an area with an old and traditional and challenging way of making wines, which is why the wines from the area are so unique and special. And again, I think we need to know them better, particularly here in the United States. And so we need to learn more about this wine called Douro Tinto. And we have 2 Douro Tinto wines that we're going to taste and review to get a sense for this wine and to see if either of them are worth your hard-earned money. But first,
You got to do our shameless plug.
that's right. So thank you for listening to us and for supporting our show. And if you haven't had the chance to do so yet, now would be the perfect time to follow or subscribe to our podcast and also leave us a nice 5-star rating and review so we can grow listeners. We would appreciate that. And thank you to everybody who has done that already. You can also follow us on Instagram at The Wine Pair Podcast and on Blue Sky. You can contact us on our website, thewinepairpodcast.com. You can sign up for our email newsletter there.
Woo!
And you can also visit our shop wine and shop accessories
Oh my
sections
gosh.
and find links to great wines and great gifts and stuff. And
Wow.
it helps us to maybe make a little money too, which is helpful for us because we don't charge you nothing for this amazing podcast
Right.
every week.
Right. And I don't get paid anything.
I don't. We pay. We actually pay a lot of money.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, and
but it's fun.
You
It's
should
fun.
be maybe paying me. No.
Honey,
that's
my
weird.
life is a payment to you. Okay, and we
Kind
want to
of
make
true.
and we want to make content that you care about and you like. So send us a note or DM us and give us some feedback. Let us know if there's wines you want us to try or winemaking areas of the world that you're curious about, and we'll take care of it. You can always reach out at joe@thewinepairpodcast.com, and we always respond. And by the way, I'll just say shout out to Dave Baxter on Instagram. He sent us a nice note. Carmela and I read it today that he found our band. My band.
Thank God.
20-pound
Dave,
gumballs,
I
so-
need you because this guy needs a little bit of,
I need a little love.
pick me up
and,
sometimes.
And I told Dave that good karma would come his way. And not to be outdone, we also got nice notes from Timmy's Vino. I'm just going to call out Timmy every week because he needs it. He needs it. And also
because his
East.
wife likes to hear his name,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Okay.
And also East Idaho Foodies as well, who reached out to us because they were the inspiration for the Pinot Noir episode from Costco last week.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and as we do every week, we'll tell you someone we think you should recommend the Wine Pair podcast to because that's the best way for us to grow listeners. And this week, we want you to recommend us to anyone who loves big, robust, full-bodied, powerful wines because they may want to check this wine out.
Nice.
Check it out.
True. Bring it on. Bring it
Yeah,
on.
hot wine. I don't know. Okay.
Wow.
So, Carmela, let's find out just what the Douro Tinto wine is.
Okay.
So, the first thing to explain is the name of the wine.
Okay.
Because it's one of those wines that's named for the region and not the grape. Because as we will learn in a minute, the wines can be a blend of many different grapes.
Oh boy, one of those.
That's right. So Douro in the Douro Tinto is the region. We've already established that. And Tinto means red in Portuguese.
Okay.
So that's important to know. Douro Tinto is red wine from...
Especially if you don't know Portuguese.
And I don't.
Because like everybody in Portugal knows what they're saying. But if
we
you're
don't.
traveling there and you're like, oh, this wine looks good, and I really feel like a nice white wine, you wouldn't want a Tinto.
No, so true.
Right.
So true,
So
Queen.
Get that down.
So
Like that's
true.
one thing. Get your colors down. I don't know.
It's kind of true. You do need to know your colors.
Right.
It's important. It is.
Right.
Okay. So now specifically Douro Tinto refers to dry, unfortified red table wines that are produced in the Douro Valley. And this is an important distinction because, again, the red wines that are most famous in the region are port. Those are red, fortified wines. These are dry, red, unfortified wines. So there you go. And oftentimes the non-fortified wines from the region are just referred to as Douro wines. And Douro Tinto, again, refers specifically to the red ones. Now, as we mentioned a minute ago, these wines are generally big and lush and robust and full-bodied and powerful with lots of alcohol and lots of talents.
This wine.
Just your kind of wine guy.
Goodness.
Okay. Now, there are lighter versions of the red wines.
What are you selling today?
The big one. Okay, but in general, some are lighter bodied, but in general, the most sought after wines.
Why would you want a light body?
That's what I'm saying. Thank you for saying that, because that's why she married me.
That's what you were thinking, right?
I was hoping so, because that's what you're stuck with. Okay, but most of the wines in this region that people seek out are the big red ones. Anyway, okay. These are what we would call punch you in the face wines, Carmela.
Wow.
Punch you in the face wines. They're not always our favorite, so you can take that when we taste and review the wines, you can keep that in mind, okay?
True.
But I will also say that these wines are supposed to have a good balance of acidity as well, which we like because usually wines that have good acidity are good with food. So
Correct.
this could be that really good balance of a big wine with good acidity.
Nice.
And so while these wines are often compared to like big Napa Cabs or big Syrahs from Washington State or Australia, they're also sometimes compared to bigger Italian wines because of this acidity. And these wines are often called steakhouse wines.
Okay, so you're going to have some red meat with this.
That's what we should expect. Yep. And
Okay.
they're also generally really deep, inky purple wines. And this comes from the grape skins. And if you didn't know, all the color in wine comes from the grape skins.
Right.
And I
Tinto.
didn't know this, but the warm weather makes grape skins a little thicker.
Oh, well, because they're stressed out. They're so stressed. They're like trying to cover
You have to
up.
have thick skin if you're so stressed out all the
Totally.
time. You know, you
I
gotta be a little bit, toughen
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
A little grape skin
You're not going to make it if you're not tough in this world.
or a grape.
Right. These grapes will not make it.
Yes.
They don't make it anyway, but
No, they made
they
it
don't
to
even
our...
know. They
No,
don't even know what
They don't
happens
know. They don't
to
know.
them.
Okay. Now, as we mentioned a moment ago, too, these are blends. So you will only ever find Douro Tinto wines from Douro, and they're blended, and the blends are pretty unique to this area because they use mostly grapes generally found in Portugal. Now, on a side note, and we have talked about this in the past, about sort of two classic French wine blends, which are kind of the backbone of a lot of modern wine, the Bordeaux style blend and the GSM style blend from the Rhone. Douro Tinto blends aren't either of those.
Wow, they break all the rules.
That's right. And you'll see how they really do break the rules in just 1 second, Carmela.
Okay.
The grapes that are generally used in this blend are Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, Tinta Roriz, which is the Portuguese name for...
Red.
Tinta Roriz is actually the Portuguese name for the famous Spanish grape Tempranillo,
Was he red?
Jesus, which is the backbone of Rioja wine.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
so now
confused.
people, should we start again? Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, Tinta Roriz, which is really Tempranillo, Tinta Barroca, and Tinta Cao.
Okay.
Now, there are some producers who are starting to play with single varietal wines, but you'll find that most often these wines are blends. And like we were talking about, the blends can vary a ton by producer, by year, and there are no specific blending requirements to be called a Douro Tinto. No rules.
Oh, wow. So you can be 5% of this, 10%. It doesn't matter.
Totally. Now
you're never, ever going to get the same bottle of wine.
Probably not.
Okay.
Now, Touriga Nacional generally makes up the biggest part of the blend, and then that's often followed by Touriga Franca and Tinta Roriz, Tempranillo again, not red, but Tempranillo. And if you're going to find a single varietal wine, it's going to be Touriga Nacional. And then Tinta Barroca and Tinta Cau are used in smaller quantities, but there are up to 50 different grape varietals that can be used in a Douro blend.
Amazing.
So you may not know exactly what you said. You may not know what the blend is exactly.
And they may never know.
But I think, again, you can count on Touriga Nacional being sort of the cornerstone of the wine.
So they're not listing anywhere what grapes are in each wine.
Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. A lot of times you have to look for a tech sheet, but it's kind of the same thing. Like if you see a red blend, sometimes they'll put like the percentage or the grapes on the bottle, and sometimes they just say red blend, which I find super confusing because you don't, at least at Douro Tinto, you're going to know the style, the basic style of wine that you should expect. Now, in terms of production, Portugal can be a blend of new and very traditional techniques. So because of the steep terraces that the grapes are grown on, and because the grapes can ripen at different times, they really can't use machines. So they basically always harvest by hand.
Wow.
And so that's something they've done since time immemorial. They've been doing that the whole time. And generally, they also still use good old traditional foot stomping. That's true.
No.
Yep.
Ooh, I'm kind of getting a little grossed out.
Well, so here's what they say. They feel that the machines are too aggressive and may break the seeds, which can impact the taste of the wine in a bad way. But that's kind of funny because I think toe jam would probably affect the taste of the wine, maybe more. So take your pick. Grape seeds or toe jams.
I'm not convinced about either.
And I don't know if you remember this, but we talked about it in the port episode. With port wines, they have these things called robotic port toes. I don't know if you remember that, but so I would maybe feel a little bit better about it if they use robotic toes instead of real Famunda toes. But no,
really, they're just taking those socks off and just stomping, huh?
That's right.
Okay.
Well, that's what you get.
Do they have like some criteria around the feet?
Nope. Just as long as you got
nothing on a tech sheet about that?
Nope. Just feet. They're just feet.
Ooh, hairy feet?
I don't know if it's hobbit feet. I don't know what.
Oh, man.
But they just want. I bet hobbits would actually be quite good because they have big feet.
Flat feet too.
Yeah, so I think they'd be good. Anyway, they're also using more modern steel tanks for fermentation these days, but they still use aging in oak barrels as a traditional way of making wine and giving it a richer and smokier taste.
Okay.
So overall, you can more or less expect that Douro Reds are, you mentioned this before, excellent values for their price.
They're red,
but also excellent values for their price compared to other similar wines from places like Spain or Bordeaux or Italy or Napa. And you should see them a little bit more in the middle tier of wines in terms of price. So a $25 Douro Tinto wine should be a really good deal compared to maybe a $50 or $70 Napa wine. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I think it's time to learn a little bit more about the wines we chose for this episode. What do you say, Carmelita?
Let's do it.
That's what they would call you in Portugal. Carmelita.
You think so?
Maybe. I don't know.
I've heard it.
We're going to go someday.
Okay.
Now, the wines we've chosen for this episode are under $25 on average, although one was just over that price cap and the other was a good bit below it. And they should be relatively easy to find because I bought one at wine.com and the other one I bought with great fear and trepidation at Total Wine. I'll also say that overall, finding specific wines from specific areas in Portugal, I still find pretty confusing. I don't know the areas very well yet. I'm starting to learn about them, but I'm still not a Portuguese wine expert. So that's why we're doing
That's okay.
That's why we're doing this.
Right.
So we'll learn more about it.
Too. Always for us too.
Exactly. And then you should be able to find Douro Tinto wines at any decently sized wine shop or in a wine shop that specializes in European wines or obviously Portuguese wines. And as always, go to your local wine shop.
Talk to the boss.
Talk to the boss lady and say, can you get me some Douro Tinto? And she'll probably say, yeah, we got it right here.
Say, I'm going to take my shoes off. I'll get right to it.
No, not make it. Sell it. She doesn't have to stomp it.
I know. You don't ever know.
You don't
when you're
know.
in Portugal, you never know.
You never know. And do you remember I told you the stories of my Uncle Tolly, Used to stomp on the grapes for my grandfather.
Right. And then what? Then they bottled it up and had it at dinner?
I'm 100% sure that my grandma made him wash his feet first.
I'm
100% sure.
for sure, but it's still kind of
gross.
grossing me out.
Yeah, okay.
I know your Uncle Tolly.
Yeah.
Kind of grossing me out.
Why? He wasn't gross. He was a nice man.
I didn't say he wasn't nice.
Why is it grossing you out? Just toes in general.
Toes.
You don't like feet.
I mean,
we're getting into really personal stuff right now.
we don't need to get into it.
She's not a foot fan, though. Okay, the first wine we're going to drink is the one I got at Total Wine. And this is the 2019 Quinta das Carvalhas Douro Tinto. And evidently, this winery is owned by the Real Companhia Velha, which is the oldest wine company in Portugal. It dates back to 1756.
Wow.
And by the way, in case you were wondering what Quinta means, because it shows up a lot in Portuguese.
5.
And
something to do with 5?
Nope.
Oh.
And many wineries are named after a quinta, and many wines have quinta in it. It means
Queen.
no.
Oh,
it means
shoot.
estate or farm.
Oh.
So this would be similar to chateau in French, or bodega in Spanish, or tenuta in Italian, or Weingut in German.
Okay.
So fun facts that you can use at your next dinner party. Hey, what does quinta mean?
Wow.
Estate or
Now, because
farm.
now you think about there's a hotel.
La Quinta Inn.
Yeah.
And it's really not an estate. It is kind of a farm.
It's in a state.
Sometimes disrepair, and sometimes it does feel like a farm. Okay.
We won't get into that either.
No, email us and we'll tell you the story. Okay, the text sheet for this wine says that the grapes come from various different parcels throughout the Quinta, even going so far as to say that the grapes at the top of the mountain give the wine freshness, and those at lower altitudes give power and structure. So that follows from what we said earlier. These terraces, they may harvest different grapes on the vineyard. The wine is fermented in stainless steel vats at a controlled temperature, and then it's aged in French barriques for 12 months, and 25% of the barriques are new oak. And we like to repeat this information often because it actually matters in wine, but French oak is more mellow than other oaks, and new oak is more oaky than used oak, but barriques are small barrels. So even though it's 25% new oak, new French oak, the fact that they're using barriques means that you'll get some good oakiness even out of used oak barrels because they're smaller vessels, and so there's more juice to oak ratio there. They also say the wine is vegan, so if that's important to you, could be a great choice. And this wine received a 92 rating from Wine Enthusiast.
Oh, wow.
So that's really good. Now, the second wine we're going to drink is the 2021 Wine and Soul Manoella Douro Tinto. And this one we got at wine.com, and it has a whole boatload of strong reviews. Wine Advocate gave it a 92. Wine Spectator gave it a 91. Wine Enthusiast gave it a 90. And Sucky James Suckling gave it a 92.
Oh,
92.
Wow.
Yeah, so
This could be a really good
They must have paid him a
wine.
lot to give that rating.
Change it up.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
that
must have been like, hey, Jimmy, under the table, boom,
been
boom.
hard for him.
Yeah, make it a 92. We'll make it worth your while.
Wow,
Nudge, nudge.
wow.
Okay, so this wine has a bit of a broader blend of grapes. It's a blend of 60% Touriga Nacional. So again, that's the grape that you would expect to be the biggest percentage. 25% Touriga Franca, 10% Tinta Roriz, and 5% Tinta Francisca. So it's similar to the first wine in the blend, with the exception of Tinta Francisca. The first one didn't have Tinta Francisca in it. And then from some research on the interwebs, Tinta Francisca can add color, tannin, acidity, and smoothness to the blend. The text sheet also calls out that the soil is schist, which is cool to know.
Right.
So rocky soil. The wine is from the Quinta da Manoella vineyard in Douro, and Wine and Soul Winery is a boutique winery that was founded in 2001 by winemakers Sandra Tavares de Silva and Jorge Serodillo Borges, and they're highly regarded winemakers in Portugal. Their wines have actually been featured in Wine Spectator's Top 100.
Oh, cool.
And they've been recognized for their contributions to modern winemaking in the Douro Valley. They're said to have an approach that blends traditional practices with more modern and innovative techniques. So if this wine is good, it's going to be a really killer bargain. So I'm excited about it. The wine is fermented in stainless steel tanks. It's fermented for 8 days. And they also call out on the text sheet that it's foot stomped after it's fermented, which I wouldn't have expected. I would have expected that they stomped first.
I kind of wish they stomped first.
Yeah, but no, they want to get that fermentation going. Well, they want to get the alcohol in there and clean out those toes.
Funk.
Just clean them out.
But they want that like later in the game. I kind of prefer
You just wish
Earlier.
they'd get it out of the way.
Right.
Yeah,
And then a little bit of a longer time in between when you're going to drink it.
Then the foot
You
stomp.
think?
I don't know. We're going to find out.
Ooh.
We're going to see if we smell toes
I'm
in there.
not sure you're going to get me to drink this one.
Well, you would definitely drink it. They also use malolactic fermentation, which again is a way to tamp down on acidity in wine. It's also aged in French oak barriques, but for 16 months. So a bit longer than the first wine, which was 12 months. So I just think in general, these are going to be bigger, oakier wines. And then they age for 2 to 3 years in the bottle before they release it.
Okay.
And I will say on a side note, what I did this time around, which I should do more often with red wines, is I opened up these bottles before we started recording. So they've been out for half an hour, which I think for bigger red wines is a good thing to do. Like let them breathe a little bit before you just serve them. And then remember, you can find all of this information and more on our show notes. Did you know we have show notes, Carmela?
I did.
If you go to this episode,
That was a glitch.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. If you go to this episode and you dig down, you can find the show notes. You can find links, lots of articles, 20 plus articles that I use to research.
Amazing.
I know. There you go. But that's enough information, Carmela. So look, if you have a Douro Tinto or any Portuguese wine and you want to drink, I don't even care if it's a port. Drink along with us.
Just drink along with us.
Yeah.
It can be anything.
There you go. So we'll see you in a second as we try our first wine.
All right.
Okay, we are back and we're ready to try our first wine. This is the Quinta das Carvalhas Douro Tinto. It's from Douro, Portugal, obviously. This is a 2019, so it's got some good age on it. It was $16.99 at Total Wine, 14% alcohol. It's 60% Touriga Nacional, 20% Touriga Franca, and 40% Tinta Roriz. And again, wine enthusiasts gave it a 92 and Vivino gave it a 4. So these are good ratings. But let's talk about the color.
Super dark.
Inky.
Wow. Like really dark.
Really dark. It is opaque. Like you cannot see through this. This is not a Pinot. This is a dark, very purpley purple grape wine.
Right.
Okay.
I agree.
What are you smelling?
Well, I think there's something candied on it, but it almost to me is kind of like fig Newton or prune. I mean, it's definitely plum on it, but I think it's something sugared, like a fig jam, something figgy about it.
There is something like, I get that. I get that
know.
jam and that fig, a little spice on it.
Okay.
But I was actually going to say, you're going to find this strange, but I kind of find it a little fresh fruit smelling, like freshly squeezed fruit.
Oh, okay. Like what kind? Like red fruits?
Like cherry juice, like a strong cherry juice, but also it's grapey. Like it smells grapey to me.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I know always sounds stupid, but most people, it's like they give you every other flavor except for grape. This one smells grapey to me.
Yeah. No, I'm getting, what kind of, are you getting like baking spices or like pepper or what?
Pepper,
Yeah.
more pepper. I'm getting a little smoke on it, maybe a little bit of leather. Leather.
Maybe I might be getting a little bit of leather as well, but I'm still getting kind of like, when you have the fig Newton or you're having a real thick jam and has the little seeds in it too. It has
so preserves, almost like preserves.
Yeah, but a thick preserve. It's kind of a little bit earthy to me too.
Yeah.
With that idea.
I like it. I like what you're smelling. Should we try it? Let's taste it. It's juicy.
Wow.
It's really juicy.
It's big.
It's big.
Bold.
But I don't feel like it's slapping me in the face. Like it's got really good mouthfeel. It's very juicy. It's got good tannin. Like it's kind of dries off at the end, but it's what I would call a kind of grippy tannins. It's kind of I wouldn't say it's like super complex, but it's nice tasting.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's interesting. I'm still kind of getting a real kind of sweet. I think it's pretty sweet.
I'm getting sweet on it too.
Yeah, I think
I'm sweet on it. No, but I am getting sweetness. I agree.
Yeah, and I do feel like there's something figgy on it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it.
Fig, plum, and something like dried fruit for me. I know you were getting fresh fruit in the smell, but I'm getting more of a dried, kind of a concentrated.
I'm with you. I feel like I agree, like a dried, it's not a raisin, but it may be a little raisiny. Maybe a little raisiny.
Or currant.
Yeah. You're right. I think dried fruit is very good. It's rich. Like it's got a rich flavor.
I think it's rich. Yeah, I do.
But it's nice. I think it's a nice wine.
Yeah. It's pretty rich. Yeah.
What would you eat with it?
I do think you could do some sort of steakhouse. In fact, like steak sandwiches, which we're having for dinner tonight.
Be really
I think
good.
this could be really good with that. Something, there's nothing that has to be like heavily seasoned either. I just think like a nice cut of meat would be something on the barbecue.
I think so. But I think it has to be kind of big because this is a pretty big wine, big mouthfeel, juicy.
Mm-hmm. What would you do?
I think you're right, but I think you want a juicy steak, like a juicy, medium rare steak.
Yeah, I think that sounds great.
It's a steak. I mean, when they said it's a steakhouse wine, 100%.
Steak and potatoes.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it. All right, should we rate it?
Let's do it.
So as a reminder on our rating scale, we rate on a scale of 1 to 10. We don't give half points, but sometimes when our scores combine, it becomes a half point because that's math. That's math. And 7 or above means that we'd buy it. 4 or below means we're going to pour it down the sink. 5 or 6 means it's good enough to drink, but we're not going to buy it. So what rating would you give this wine?
I feel like I do this a lot, but I think I'm going to give it a 7. I mean, 7 is usually my safe one because I would certainly buy this wine. I would drink this wine. I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit. Right now, I'm going to give it a 7.
Yeah. I almost wish I could give it a half.
Right.
Because it's a nice wine. Again, it's not blowing me away with like complexity. I do think it was helpful that it was opened for a little bit because I think it's probably mellowed out a little bit over the half an hour. It might actually do really well decanted, but I'm going to start with a 7 and we always reserve the right to change the score. But would you buy it? Yes, I would buy this wine. And I think for people who like big red wines, this is a good choice. Yes. And it was only $16.99.
Amazing.
So, and it's kind of a pretty bottle. Like, I think this is something you could bring to friends and, have at a dinner party or something. So it's good wine.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we're going to take a break and we're going to try our second wine.
Okay.
Okay, we are back and we're ready to try our second wine. This is the Wine and Soul Manoella Douro Tinto. Again, Douro, Portugal is where it's from. This is a 2021, so it's a little younger. It was $26.99 at wine.com, so a little expensive. 13.5% alcohol, so lighter in alcohol. And again, 60% Touriga Nacional, 25% Touriga Franca, 10% Tinta Roriz, and 5% Tinta Francisca. And as I mentioned, a lot of good ratings. Wine Advocate gave it a 92, Wine Spectator a 91, Wine Enthusiast 90, and Sucky James Suckling a 92, and Vivino gave this one a 4.0 as well. But let's talk about the color.
I don't think it's as dark.
I can actually see to the bottom of the glass.
Yeah.
So it's not quite as inky as the first one.
Yeah, it's actually very pretty.
It's super pretty.
Yeah, it's definitely has just a lighter, a little brighter look than the other one. The other one was so dark.
So dark. Yeah. I mean, I like it. I like them both, but this is a lighter red wine. It's dark, but it's lighter. And it's kind of pretty, like in the bottom of the glass when you hold it up to the light. It's kind of shimmery a little bit. I like that. What are you smelling?
Well, at first it was
nice.
Yeah, it was a little different than the other one. Like the other one definitely had this sweetness or richness that you could almost smell.
Like that jamminess.
Yeah. This is a little fresher, a little more, I'm getting a little more cherry on it.
I'm
still
with you.
Some plum, I think.
I'm getting cherry. I'm almost getting like a blackberry pie on it.
Ooh.
And smoky. Like gun smoke or gunpowder on it. Fireworks, yeah. It's got, to me, this is a richer, in terms of complexity, it's more complex smell.
Yeah, the other one was just, it was very nice.
Juice.
But it was very juicy, very, like I said, concentrated. This one is a little, it almost smells a little younger.
Oh, it is. And it is 2 years younger. So that's, that would be expected.
True.
Yeah, it's smoky. Like this is a gun smoky kind of
you
wine.
Let the fire out too.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well let's try it and see what we think. That's a nice wine. That's
smooth.
A really nice wine.
It's pretty smooth.
It's cherry. It's much more cherry than the other one.
A lot more. And not as concentrated though.
It's not. I am getting again this like kind of blackberry pie, like it's not. This is overly sweet. But do you remember the old Hostess berry pies?
Yes.
Kind of getting a little bit of that.
So almost like like a Marciano type of
No.
cherry?
I'm thinking about the berry pies. You're thinking about the cherry pies. I'm thinking about the berry pies.
Oh, okay.
They kind of had like some sort of blueberry or something. And there's something about the crust on it that had a little spice in it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm getting.
That's interesting. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Not that I ate those, but my Aunt Agatha did buy them for me quite frequently.
Wow, did she? I can imagine.
Oh my God.
Was it in your special drawer?
I mean, that woman...
Joe had a special drawer.
Yeah, and she single-handedly kept Hostess in business, I think, in Seattle. Yeah.
That's amazing. I just, for some reason, can't imagine that she would buy those.
My brothers hated it. And she would put money in it, too.
In the drawer. That's
in the drawer.
Not in the Hostess
No, not in the pie.
No.
She wouldn't stick it in the pie, no.
No, but in his special drawer, she did. He's the only one that had one. Okay, anyway.
And her birthday is coming up, too. My sweet aunt. Oh, I miss her. I miss her.
I miss her. Yeah, no, it's very good.
Really nice.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like, it's definitely has a little more cherry on it and a little fresher fruit, and it's not punch you in the face.
No, it's got good acidity. It's got some nice tannin. It does remind me a little bit more of an Italian wine. It's probably more juicy than like Italian wines. A lot of times are a little bit more austere. So, this is on the juicy end, but it's a nice wine. What would you eat with it?
Well, I think you could do a lot of the same. I think you could do red meat, but I think you could do this. I mean, this is almost like you could do a bolognese sauce.
It's versatile.
Yeah, I think more than I think you could do a stew with this.
For sure.
Or pot roast.
Beef stroganoff.
Right. But you could even do like pork, I think, with this wine.
Yeah, I think the acidity, this one has nice acidity, so it would go with a lot of foods. And it's still a big wine, but the mouthfeel isn't quite as round. It's not as there was something about the first wine that was like really filling the mouth. And this one's a little bit more streamlined. Like it's almost like coming off of your tongue more. And so I think it would do better with food.
This would do well even like with charcuterie, like some nice salty meats.
Yeah.
And cheeses. I think this would be really good.
Ooh, a good stinky cheese from under your toes cheese. But I think it'd be really...
Man,
it would
don't
be
bring
really,
up toes.
No, it'd be really nice. A nice sanguiche. Ooh, Italian sanguiche would
peppers, roasted peppers. And
yeah, but I could, grilled, like open flame meat grilled would be super good.
So good.
Super good. Okay, well, let's rate this wine.
Well, I'm going to give it an 8. I'm definitely giving it an 8. I'm going to keep the other one as a 7.
I am as well. I mean, I'm so tempted to go higher than an 8. It's a really good wine.
It is a very good wine.
I would buy it. I would serve it. I'm really tempted to go higher, but I may stick with the 8 for now.
This is more drinkable to me as well.
Yeah.
That's definitely why I went up. But
and actually it's a little lower in alcohol too, which is kind of nice. Okay, I'm going to stick with an 8.
Okay.
But maybe before the episode is out, I'll change my mind.
Okay.
And which one of these are you finishing tonight?
We're going with the second one.
The Wine and Soul.
What is it,
Manoella?
Right.
Manoella, that's right. Wine and Soul. That's right. Okay, let's talk about the taste profiles expected from Douro Tinto. In general, blackberry, blackcurrant, black pepper, cloves and cinnamon, vanilla, toast, and smokiness from oak aging is common. That's on the nose. In the taste, ripe black fruits, spice, licorice, anise, crisp minerality, firm tannins, big body, long finish.
Anise, that's interesting.
Yeah, licorice. A little licorice
definitely,
is good.
On that first one.
The Quinta das Carvalhas. The winery says, a very fresh wine with a beautiful ruby color and aromas of red fruit harmoniously integrated with creamy vanilla notes. Aromatic intensity, complexity, very balanced, pleasant and long-lasting finish. James Suckling said bark and dried earth notes, rich blackberries, dried herb character, juicy and medium to full-bodied on the palate, chewy tannins. I agree with that. Wine enthusiast said it's a ripely perfumed wine, dense black fruits and tannins that have now softened, leaving a ripe, generous wine of blackberry fruits.
Okay, you were right on. Nothing about fig.
No, nothing about fig. I think I got more blackberry in the second one than the first one.
Okay.
But the Wine and Soul that James Suckling says, showing aromas of currants, raspberries, not quite raspberries, chopped herbs and paprika. Crunchy and lively, medium-bodied, fine-grained tannins, and a spicy, bright finish. spicy for sure. Wine Spectator says a stylish red, fresh and focused, good concentration while remaining light on its feet. I agree. That's a great way to describe it. Fine taut tannins, lively acidity, sleek definition for notes of crushed black raspberry. They think there's, I would say
That's
blackberry.
called a blackberry.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Cracked pink peppercorn, fragrant overtone of Mediterranean scrub, and subtle minerally iron tang on the finish.
Okay.
I can get with that. I can
Okay.
get with that. But the black, I mean, I was getting more of like a blackberry, and I think they're kind of getting to that.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah, they said it.
What's your verdict on Douro Tinto?
I really like it. I think we're going to need to break this out more often.
And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, you got to remember, Carmela is not a super red wine fan, and she's also not a super big red wine fan.
No.
So the fact that she's kind of digging on this wine, it actually says a lot,
Yeah.
I think.
I do. Well, because it's not oaky. I'm not getting any of that, and I'm not missing that at all.
It's so right. I think what happens to me a lot is on those big beefy Cabernets, they're so oaky that you just, it's almost
That's
like
all you taste.
it's almost like those IPAs where all you can taste is the hops. It's like, can I taste some of the beer? It's the same thing with the oaky Cabernets where it's like, I get it. I get you oak it, but can you just give me a little bit of wine here?
Right.
These are really nicely balanced. So I've totally agree with you on that. Okay, Carmela, it's time for us to go. But before we do, we want to thank you very much for listening to us. And if you haven't done so yet, now would be a great time to follow or subscribe to the podcast, and a great time to leave us a nice rating review on our website or on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app you listen to us on. It's an awesome way to support us. We also love to hear from you. So tell us about a wine you want us to taste or review. You can Come on, do it. Talk about our music if you want to. You can leave a message for us on our website, thewinepairpodcast.com. You can always reach out to us at joe@thewinepairpodcast.com. But with that, we're going to sign off and say thank you once again. We'll see you next time. And as we say, life is short, so stop drinking shitty wine. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And the happy ending.